Hi guys, this is Danilo Alba from Brazil. Actually, I'm Italian, but I live in Brazil where I run a digital marketing company where we specialize in startups, like helping startups to get to the market, and specifically also helping foreign companies getting to the Brazilian market. The reason why I applied to give advices on Clarity is that we reckon we have like a differential in our methodology to help startups to get to the market. And this differential is based upon three pillars, main pillars. The first pillar is the fact that any startup goes live through three stages. Now, like we need to make sure we understand this because our strategy will be implementing depending on the stage the startup lives on. So the first stage is the stage of the idea, is when you have the idea of what you want to do. And obviously, when you have the idea, you don't have the business yet. The second stage is the what's called MVP, minimal viable product, like a prototype. You have a prototype that will help you test whether your potential client will actually like to buy your service or product. We're talking about product or services. This methodology applies to both. And the third phase is a market phase, like when you already having a turnover, even small, but you actually your company or your product is already on the market, and there are people um, buying it. So now we should be focusing this stage more on escalating and accelerating your startup. The second pillar is a process. It comes from a process, lean startup process, and the identification of moment of pivot. The lean startup process is something which has been uh, promoted to the public, to the main public, by Eric Rice in his book. However, it has become like a standard of managing startups. It means that we need to focus on small resources. Basically, the principle it's quite a complex concept, but the principle is that we need to focus on small resources, or focus on the resources we have the most, and try to make most advantage of them. So try to cut out all the bureaucracy that we might have. That's why the term lean. And also, it's very important to identify the moment of pivot. We not necessarily our startup will not necessarily be the same in 3 year or 5 year time. Almost all the startups that I have in mind, or like big companies, the started startups did not start the way they are. Like if I think of Google, if I think of YouTube, if I think of Apple, none of them started with the vision or the mission that they have now. They're starting with something else in mind, and the ability to understand the market through the process, and the ability to understand how the clients would or the customers would react to what the company would propose, had the administrators, the CEOs to pivot, as we say, like changing the path along the course of the life. For example, YouTube, it did not start as like a general sharing video platform. It was like more like a private, like Jose, let's say, red light videos between friends. Facebook, we all know, was something about sharing pictures in a university contest, in context, and all the rest. So we need to understand, we need to follow the vision that we have at the beginning is theoretical. We need to accept that, and as long as we go, we need to understand when it's time to pivot. And then the third point is start up from resources, not from the idea. This concept comes from a course I attended in Brazil here, and it comes from a professor whose name is Newton Campos. He says that basically you can have the best idea in the world, but what's more important is not the idea, but the resources you have. So basically, instead of try to create a new idea from nothing and then look for the resources, do the opposite. Try to to gather all the resources you have. Could it be immaterial and material, like knowledge, for example, experience, knowing people. These are great resources, although immaterial. We always tend to associate resource to financial resources, whereas it's not necessarily the case. So gather your resources and then create an idea starting from the resources you have, because whatever you spend, the financial resource you might need, the money you might need, will be just to buy the resources that you don't have. Okay, so if you have the resources, if you have that competence, if you know those people, if you have that prototype in place, you won't need to buy them. If you don't have, then you need to buy them through financial resources or look for a partner. So these are the three main pillars, and I would be very happy to help you understand how we can implement all this philosophy, these principles, and help you put your startup to market, would that be in Brazil or elsewhere in the world. So why don't you book your first call with me? I will be very, very happy to help you put your startup to the market. See you. Bye bye.